Yeah, so I first started a podcast in 2015 interviewing other alternative practitioners and just trying to get the perspective of how what they were doing could potentially help people with, more specifically, depression. And at the time I had just taken a 3-month long stand-up comedy course, which was so fun. That course just like opened me up. And
Wow.
and I interviewed my teacher about how he thought um, doing stand-up comedy courses in like a group setting where you're starting off with other people who don't have experience. So it's much less intimidating trying to go to an open mic where these people might have years of experience, and you don't feel on their level, and so you're not even going to try. But when you're starting with people that are in a similar um, you know wavelength as yourself, it's much less threatening, and everyone's much more open and vulnerable, and it was very, very cool. And I ended up doing open mics for like a year after, for an entire year after that class, and it changed me in a lot of ways. It helped me with dating and women a lot because I just got comfortable like being myself and like, hey, I'm actually funny and I have value as a human being. So I would recommend that. And I think I went to Arnaud's course where I met you. I think that was like maybe
A year
2016 or
a year
2017.
after? I think so. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but it was in that time period. And that was like my first dive into like really alternative mental stuff, because I've been going to a psychologist for years, and it's super expensive to go to a PhD, and it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. You just sit down on the couch and you talk about the same shit over and over and over again, and they basically just tell you how you're wrong and you need to think a different way. And it's like, okay, well, that sounds great, but that's not how my brain works. So here's
Talk
$500 for the hour. Just
talk
keep
about
talking.
talk about your whole history with therapy. Like, how old were you when you first started? And what do you think are the main differences with the stuff we do versus like traditionally all that counseling and therapy you've done before?
I mean, my parents had me in counselor and therapist office probably as early as like 7. So
7, that's young.
so I really got this idea in my head that there's something wrong with me. Oh, sorry. I just don't want the dog to knock over the tripod. Come here. Over here. This is Moose, by the way. Say hello.
Hi, Moose, you're so cute.
He's a hunting dog, so he's always distracted. But yeah, okay. So
So
I mean,
you
I
were
was
7.
7 years old, in and out of bouncing around from different therapists, because I'm the problem and they can't help me. I'm going to a different school every single year, so I'm not building social skills. I'm not making friends. I'm missing out on a lot of like very important neurological landmarks where you should be progressing as a human being. And I mean, pretty abusive, dysfunctional home life. I don't need to get into the specifics of that right now, but um, and then around I think I was 6 when I had my traumatic brain injury, and in Carlsbad, remember Poinsettia Park? Have
Yes.
you ever been to Poinsettia Park? Me and my
Mm-hmm.
sister used to go down that hill. We'd lay down on skateboards, and we would go flying down that hill. And there was a fork at the bottom, and I had done it probably dozens of times. And on this particular day, I didn't go left or right. I went headfirst into a steel beam, and my
Oh my
head,
goodness.
the left side of my head, the left prefrontal cortex, which I now know is responsible for happiness, that region specifically is where happiness takes place. So I couldn't feel that emotion um, until I was like in my late 20s when you introduced me to Derek, and I got started on that path.
Yes. So you were
Um,
able to, we'll talk about that more later, but you were able to open that back up again, right?
yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm
and
so
I guess
happy you took and ran with it.
what, say it
Yeah.
again?
I'm so happy you took and ran with that information because you look really happy. Like you're smiling from your heart, which you couldn't do that before.
Well, I think so. You know, when you think of the, you know, your body is a machine, is the machinery for your soul. The brain is like the processing computer, and that's where, you know, information comes in from the top, but it's also where your emotions rise up from the lower chakras, and your brain is supposed to be able to process them, and then you can release them. But if the machinery is broken, you know, you have an emotion come up to your higher chakras, and your brain can't process it. So
Mm.
you know, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and I think from a more spiritual perspective, what is really happening with people that have bipolar and schizophrenia, those two specifically, I think when, you know, when the emotions come up to the brain is so turned around that the emotions are very disorienting and confusing, and you know, sometimes they get blocked, or sometimes they come out too aggressively, and that's when you see like a manic episode. um, I believe like with schizophrenia, you know, there's lots of layers or realms all around us, and the brain is specifically designed to filter out like the astral realm and the other realms so that we can be grounded in the physical. But if this is broken, you don't have a filter, and so everything is coming in.
That makes sense. That really makes sense.
And so I used to have auditory hallucinations as a child. Um, and I don't I don't know that I ever outright saw like entities and stuff, but I could definitely feel them around me at like all times. And I think I was just letting in, I was receiving way too much information for my nervous system to be able to process. And so, you know, under stressful circumstances, I would just go ballistic, and, you know, I never hurt anybody physically or anything, but emotionally I would blow up and just had a, you know, a hair trigger. And most of the time it was justified. I had a lot of assholes around me that didn't understand what was going on and that couldn't help me. And so as a child, when you're all alone and you don't have anybody who can empathize with what you're going through, it's pretty horrible. I mean, I believe that I was in hell, like what the Bible talks about. I mean, for me, that was my hell. And you know, it's all karma, right? Like I probably had
Mm-hmm.
something in my last life that caused me to get injured here. I had to go to
Yes.
hell. I had to go to hell in my childhood. I
Yes.
burned off that karma, and now I'm not in hell anymore. And that's what all the religions are trying to teach us, but people interpret it in a very concrete, physical way, that like hell is an actual fire. um but I mean, it's all metaphor.
So going back to getting in getting injured at 6, and then you started to go see a therapist at 7. And how many years were you in therapy before we met?
Well, if let's say that we met in 2017, I would have been, that was what, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been 20. I'm 32 now, so 32 minus 6 is 26. So I met you at 26, right before my Saturn return. So I needed to find someone to help navigate, because I don't know if people are familiar with astrology, but at 27, that's energetically, that's when your childhood ends. And so you're going to be put through a very rigorous test. And if you pass that test, you get to enter into adulthood, and you get to put your childhood behind you. And I mean, for me, I felt like my whole life was a Saturn return.
Yes.
But at 27, it got really rough. I'm trying to remember. I mean, there was so many things going on, but at 24, I had a like a serious, I guess you call it psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
And well, what, I'm sorry, let me try to let me try to bring it all together here.
Okay, okay.
I
And I want you to also mention that you were was it, what do you call that? Electroshock?
Electroshock therapy.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So there,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some. I'll try to bring it all together.
Okay, okay.
But at I mean, I'll go as deep as you. I'll tell everything, but it will take a little bit of time. Is that okay?
We have time. We have time.
Okay. So I'll back up to childhood. You know, I got the brain injury. I'm struggling in school, so I'm bouncing around from schools. I developed the belief that I'm really stupid because bad student, no friends, problems at home. There's something wrong with me. Um, it's but I was able to mitigate that with athletics. That was something I was able to feel good about myself, and that worked for a couple years in high school. All of my self esteem came from my ability to shoot a basketball. I would be in the high school gym at 6 in the morning shooting jump shots by myself because that's all I had. And I really began feeling good about myself. And I thought my life was like on a certain path. And I, you know, even had the doctors, you know, they look at the growth plates in your legs to guess how tall you're going to be. And I was told I was going to be 6'4". So I'm the best shooter on my team. I'm going to be 6'4". And like, I'm going to play D1 basketball. No problem. Right. Turns out I stopped growing at 5'11", and I absolutely obliterate my knee my sophomore year of high school. So like right after I thought I finally had some traction, it's just ripped right out of my hands. And I kind of started getting into drugs and going downhill because I just didn't have anything positive in my life. And graduate high school, go to junior college, horrible at school, can't even show up to class. I think in total, I think I got kicked out of college probably 7 or 8 times. And I kept trying because I thought like I have to go to college. It's the only way to do it. And I even tried acupuncture at college, which resonated with me much more. And I could get out of bed and show up to class because it was interesting. But it was so expensive that I just ran out of money and I had to drop out because I didn't have family support or anything like that. So once that happened, I'm like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm like 20 years old, get kicked out of college constantly. Working in restaurants, like, where's my life going? I'm telling one of my friends, because I have a little bit of a friend group at this point, and because drugs can help with that. And I'm telling him, like, I'm really, really depressed, and it feels like nothing in my life is working. And he's like, well, why don't you try this pill? It makes you feel really, really good. I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's Adderall. I'm like, how do you have an Adderall prescription? He's like, oh, I take them from my dad. You want one? And I'm like, sure. So I remember the very first day I took Adderall, I went from extremely depressed, suicidal to I'm the life of the party, and I'm walking up to girls I don't know, chatting them up, and I'm just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. I like this. So,
How long did that last for?
well, so this is about I'm 21 at this point when I start taking Adderall, and I get a psychiatrist. I convince my parents to get on board, get me a psychiatrist, and she's like, well, typically we don't prescribe Adderall for depression. And I'm like, I know, but I was honest with her. I'm like, I tried it once and it was like the only thing that I didn't feel depressed for the first time in my life. And she was hesitant, but she's like, all right, well, we'll give it a try. And this particular psychiatrist, God bless her, I'm not putting her down. This is on me, but she had like a bunch of little kids, so she became a remote doctor, like phone stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very easy for me to get like as much Adderall out of her as possible because she was completely negligent as a doctor and was not paying attention at all to what was going on. At the same time, I was going to a kind of a semi. I was going to like a semi-Western holistic clinic, so somewhere in the middle, but probably more allopathic in the approach because, well, you'll hear in a minute what happened. I was trying to get heavy metals out of my body,
Mm-hmm.
and over the course of like a year and a half, I did like 60 rounds of chelation, and
Wow.
I pulled every fucking mineral out of my body without knowing it.
Uh-oh.
And and the Adderall is keeping me going at this point, even though I'm completely depleted. I have
Oh
nothing in
my
my body,
goodness.
and so I'm really starting to become more and more addicted to the Adderall for energy because I have no natural energy. So I mean, Adderall is a very dark drug. I mean, it's a Nazi drug. It was developed by the Nazis in World War II so that they could do their blitzkriegs and they take over a whole. I mean, the Nazis took over all of Western Europe in like a week, and the reason they were able to do that because all the soldiers were on meth, and they'd stay up all night long for a week straight, just raiding and um, you know like just taking over entire countries in a day or two, which is unheard of. That the Nazis' war machine was unbelievable, but it was fueled by amphetamines. And so to apply that to what was going on in my life at the time, I was just very over the top aggressive in all areas of my life, and I was scaring people without I wasn't really aware that I was scaring people, and so put that with what's going on with all the chelation and depleting all my minerals. Eventually, I like absolutely crash, and I get in a little bit of trouble with the law, not actual charges or anything, but that was a wake up call for me. I'm like, oh wow, maybe there's something wrong with me, and I probably need to stop this. And so I'm an extremist, so I don't titrate or go through with slow withdrawals. I'm just like, fuck it, let's just get it
Cold
all out of the
turkey.
system at once. So
Mm-hmm.
I got rid of all my Adderall pills, stopped taking it, and I did a niacin flush because I had been studying detox protocols, and Scientology will use niacin and saunas to get people off drugs, and I'm like, that sounds like it could work, but I did it with no guidance, and I took too much niacin, so it basically flooded my entire body with all of the amphetamines that had been stored in my tissues, and I went off the rails.
And this is before all the electroshock therapy.
That's that's like
Oh my goodness.
no, it's a long story. Is this okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And I mean, we've worked on a lot of this stuff, but I've also cleared a lot of stuff on my
On your
own.
own. Yes, you did.
And and just as a side note, that's what's really cool about this stuff is that you can go see a practitioner once a month if you don't have any money, because when you have problems, like, you're broke and
Yes.
you can't afford to see someone every week. So the holistic therapies are much more effective because you're learning how to use it on yourself.
That's
So
right.
you go see a practitioner, and now you actually have a tool in your toolkit that you can be working on your issues in between your sessions. And I think that's vital, because if you're in a bad place in life, going to see a psychologist even 2 or 3 times a week is not enough.
No, it's not. You got to work on yourself every single day.
And that's another thing about holistic medicine, is that it puts the responsibility on you,
That's right.
not on your doctor or someone else, and you can just blame all of your problems on someone else. You have to take radical ownership over your life. And but okay, so we're going back to the niacin detox.
Okay, so what happened after that?
There's a lot of details that happened in there. I don't know how necessary they are, but essentially, essentially, I end up in a psychiatric facility. Somehow, I'm able to pass the psych eval. I
Mm-hmm.
think I was actually like on the edge of getting through the detox, but my family was so adamant about me being locked up that they actually kind of forcefully got me admitted, even though I passed mental health evaluations by doctors. So, because I had a job in my own, not my own apartment, but like my own place shared with another person.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I'm like, I just need to get through this detox, and I'm going to be right back on track. But my family stepped in and made sure that didn't happen.
Oh my god. That's how you were um in the hospital for a while there.
Yeah. So the first time I went to the hospital, because I altogether in my 20s, I went to the psych ward probably 8 times, 7 or 8 times.
Wow.
Two long-term stays, and then probably 5 or 6 like maybe 24-hour or 48-hour holds. So I was able to get like stabilized and released quicker. But the two long-term holds, um, they were tough.
How long were the two long-term stays?
The
Like
first one,
months?
no, well, let me explain. So the first one was like 6 weeks, and then I went to rehab for almost 5 months.
That's a long time.
This is a very long time. And then I lived in a sober living house for 6 months without any break. So you're just on this, they put you on this train and you're going down this path. And
Okay.
I'm like, I remember waking up at the sober living house one day and I'm like, you know what? Even though I'm sober, I'm still not happy and I still don't feel well. And I got put on all these psych meds.
More
Um,
psych meds. Okay.
well, and also, another thing that I want to bring up is that like the mental health system, specifically in psychiatric facilities, it is uh, horribly abusive. I mean, I remember when I asked to speak with the doctor because I was ready to leave because originally I was put on a 72-hour hold. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no big deal. I can do 72 hours. It's only 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go up to the nurse's station to ask to speak with the doctor and tell him, I'd like to leave. I have a job that I need to get back to. And she's like, all right, I'll be right back. Really, really attractive redhead nurse. And she disappears around the corner and she doesn't come back. And I'm like, where the fuck did she go?
For days, right?
I'm ready to go. I turn around and I have two big orderlies approaching me. And I get one on each arm and they actually like forcefully, put me in my room. And I was so freaked out and traumatized by that because, they're putting their hands on me that I lost it. And I think I don't really remember because I kind of went rogue,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm pretty sure like I like barricaded a door and like destroyed a bunch of stuff because I couldn't
Wow.
I couldn't believe that your freedom in this country, America, supposedly the greatest country on the planet, that our healthcare system, that's how they deal with people that have mental health challenges. It's
Wow.
it's unbelievable. Like
And with
and I just all I asked was to talk to the doctor to try to get some understanding of what is going on. And their response to that is that we're going to lock you down even tighter. And I'm
oh
just
my
like,
goodness. And then with the electroshock therapy, was it your choice or was it just forced?
no. So I was actually interested in it. It's not the old school electroshock. This is a more modified. It actually is somewhat holistic, and it is using high powered magnets. So,
Okay.
and that I can talk about this later. This is something that you could use for electroshock in a more holistic sense. But this is it's like a giant machine, and they're not using like direct electrical stimulation contact. It's more of a pulsed it's like a high powered PEMF, except
Mm-hmm.
it's focused just on like one part of the brain, and I believe it was like somewhere around here, and it was very loud. It sounded like metal cracking on metal, and it
Wow.
actually, but it helped.
Okay.
This is if someone is really bad, this is better than medication. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's actually called because it's not the same as electroconvulsive. It's
Something
much
newer. Mm-hmm.
it's newer technology, and I think it can be a good thing. And I was using it to try to withdraw off of my medication because I had gotten put on like schizophrenia
Wow.
meds in the psych ward,
Oh
and
my goodness.
it's like heroin in a pill because it sedates you so badly that you don't care about anything and you feel good all the time, but you just don't care about anything in your life. And so all these bad things happen to you because like you just ignore all of your instincts. I mean, imagine walking around high on heroin 24/7 for like 2 years.
Is that how long you took those meds for?
So
So Eric, what happens after that?
I use the whatever the technology is called. There's actually a clinic in Carlsbad. I'll look it up and send it to you because I actually think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Or
Okay. I'll
it's a
look
step in
into
the
it.
it's a
Yeah.
step in the right direction. So I was able to
Mm-hmm.
get off of meds at that point. I think I'm like
With
20.
that therapy, that electrotherapy. Okay.
um and I'm also doing enemas and sauna every day. I'm really studying detox, and a lot of it is coming maybe not directly from you and Arno, but it's just getting the wheels turning that I need to
Mm-hmm.
start thinking.
Detoxing.
I need to
All the
start thinking
meds.
differently.
Yeah.
Because I think Arnaud is more like raw. You and Arnaud are both like raw that fruitarian or not fruitarians, but you're raw vegans,
Time
right?
to time, but I think when you're clearing really big issues or you're moving through emotions, I think you need denser, heavier foods. But definitely when I'm cleansing, right? And you want to be cleansing a couple times a year just because it's like we live in a dirty fish tank. All the filters are dirty, the water's dirty, the air, everything. There's so many new chemicals. I think they said 30,000 new chemicals are pumped into our environment. So maybe 150 years ago, we would have been fine without having to actively detox. But now in 2023, we don't have that luxury of not detoxing. So when I detox, yeah, definitely gotta go raw. But I'm actually gonna put together uh, a detox group. I don't know what I'm not sure what to call it yet, but then we're gonna detox together the kidneys, the liver, the colon, for about 4 weeks, really intensively. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, so I might pick your brain on, just more information on like all the other detox because you're like an expert. You have all these protocols. That's really cool.
Oh well, thank you. I mean, I got a lot of the foundation from it from you and from Arnaud, and I just kind of kept studying and researching and trying to expand upon what I've learned from other people. I mean, I have like my own system now, but there's so many people that I've met along the way that gave me the foundation to like take the next to advance it. And so to all of those people, whether they're body workers or detox people or more like mental health type of clearings, like I'm grateful and thankful to all of you because I got bits and pieces of this and that and this, and then I just tried to put it into something that worked for me. And I think when you're healing yourself, you become an artist because
Yes.
it's not a one size fits all. It's like I'm gonna get a paintbrush from Merritt, and then I'm gonna get a paintbrush from Derek, and then I'm gonna get a paintbrush from Steve, and I'm gonna paint, this painting with all these different tools that's unique to me. They're
That's
not
right.
telling me like I have to do it like a very specific in the box type of way, like an allopathic doctor would. And
That's
so
what,
as
yeah. That's why I love interviewing people and like your healing journey. I'm just so fascinated on, all the things that people do to get to where they're at, to get whole and complete. And yeah, I'm really excited to collaborate more on like the detoxing because I mean, I do so much mental, emotional, spiritual work, but sometimes my clients, my students hit a ceiling and you got to work on the body. You just got to work on getting the body lighter if you want to go higher, right? It's about increasing your energy on all levels. But if you don't detox the poisons out of the body, like how much that can be limiting your happiness, like that can be limiting your ability to manifest too.
Well, so can I pick up from there with manifestation? We'll go back to the bad stuff and wrap that
Okay.
up. But we're on a good track right here. So the detox stuff is so important because your manifestations come from your pineal gland. If your pineal gland is calcified, you are not manifesting anything except bad stuff. And so you have to clean your pineal gland out so you can start like bringing good stuff into your life. And you also have to get all the parasites out of your brain because um, well, I guess as a side note, this was all taken out of the Bible, but like in the Apocrypha and the Dead Sea Scrolls, Jesus talked about doing enemas and getting the demons out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And the demons that he was talking about were worms and parasites.
Yes.
And of course, the Catholic Church took all the important stuff out and just left us with a bunch of bullshit that doesn't mean anything, just to confuse and distract us. But like the real applicable, gemstones that Jesus left were completely destroyed, or they're held, in the Vatican and stuff. Because Jesus was a detox master. Like
Mm-hmm.
he knew how to clean the body out.
He did. Yes.
But I'll just share, as a practical thing that like people that are listening could just even do today is baking soda, drinking baking soda and water with some honey on an empty stomach. That will start getting parasites out of you. It's a very
Safe way.
slow. It's a very slow and safe. You're not going to have extreme reactions, and you're going to start alkalizing your body. And so if you're on that, then you can start bringing in some of the harder hitting stuff, and that's when you start getting the stuff out in your urine and your poop, and you actually see it. Just when I was laid up in bed, and I'm sorry, I know like I'm talking a million miles a minute, but this is what I like talking about. I got put on some oxys after my knee surgery, and so my body started becoming very acidic. And you don't realize it though, because you go so numb mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're just like, oh, this feels great, I'm going to keep doing it. But I kind of started waking up, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop. So I stopped, and I drank some structured water, and I took some CBD oil with myrrh. My next pee, I saved it in a bottle, and I have it posted on my Instagram. There was worms that came out in my urine,
No.
not in my poop, in my urine.
Oh my goodness.
Not huge. I mean, we're talking probably maybe half an inch, but still, it's like,
That's big.
well, what happens, because I was pretty clean going into the surgery, but when you start
Mm-hmm.
taking the pharmaceuticals, your body begins to deteriorate and it becomes acidic. And the worms come in to eat the dead cells.
That's right.
So it's not even so much focusing on killing the worms, it's more of making sure your body is alkaline. Because if your body's alkaline, your cells are alive. And if your cells are alive, the worms have nothing to eat because they can only eat dead cells.
And parasites and worms, their job on the planet is to eat dead matter and to poop out dirt. That's their role.
There was I think there was a scientist who did a study. It was more of a metaphysical study to prove that life can come from nothing. He took like a bunch of garbage and put it in an isolated, like decomposing garbage, and put it in an isolated container, and worms and larvae manifested out of the garbage.
It just manifested?
The
So was it like a locked box?
I'd have to do some research to pull the actual study up, but it was a contained environment, that had no life form in it. It was dead, decomposing food.
Uh-huh.
And these creatures actually grew out of the decomposing food. So
Wow.
it's not so much that you need to kill them, it's that you need to get the garbage out so that they don't have a food source.
That's my
Because if you
message
keep
too. Yep.
Yeah, because if you keep leaving milk on your porch, the cat's gonna keep coming.
And people talk about demonic beings and entities, but if they have nothing to feast on, if if there's no anger, no sadness, no extreme rage for them to feast on, then they wouldn't be around you. Because most people, they keep hiring healers over and over and over again, like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They keep seeing these shamans and heal. Nothing wrong with that, but if they don't get the poison out, we got to look at what are they feasting on.
Right?
It's the same with like the etheric body, with also the physical body.
Absolutely.
I like
And
that. I like the baking soda and honey. I think that's a really good start.
yeah, I mean, definitely on an empty stomach though, because you don't want to take it with food because you're going to neutralize all of your acid in your stomach and then you won't digest your food. So you want to make sure you wait like at least an hour or two after you take it so that your stomach acids come back online.
Okay. And I've been brushing my teeth with bentonite clay, baking soda, and peppermint oil.
Mm-hmm.
I know that even if you eat super clean, but if your body's really acidic, you're gonna get cavities. But if you keep your mouth alkaline, you're not gonna manifest cavities. That's what I think. What do you think?
Can I say something on that? So in preparation for my surgery, I wanted to prep my body as much as possible. So I ate probably like an 80 or 90% fruit diet for like 3 months. And I almost forgot to brush my teeth. My breath didn't stink. My teeth did not have any plaque on them. I'm just like, I'm not even going to brush my teeth because why would I if my breath doesn't stink? And I can, with my tongue, I can feel there's nothing on my teeth. So, I mean, it's more, the whole like mineralization way of thinking is a very like almost religious way of thinking. It's not so much about the
Yes.
minerals, it's about the alkalinity.
Yes. And
And
then
do you know Dr. Morse, Dr. Robert Morse?
yes, in
He
Florida.
he's really good. I mean, I think since you're working with star seeds, he's like the star seed nutrition guy. Like that's the diet for star seeds.
He's been on my radar for years.
Oh, he is so high vibe. This guy is just like on another planet. Do you watch his videos?
I used to. I recently this year I've been getting this message that, want to watch his videos again. And in our
His whole
society, go ahead.
can I just say something? His entire YouTube channel got deleted overnight. No,
That's
no
why I
war-
don't. Oh, of
no
course.
warning
That
or
happens all
anything.
the time.
It's horrible. I'm like that proves that what he's teaching works.